evening, guys. Thank you so much for coming tonight to the February 6, 2024 business meeting. Can you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are joined by 6 of our board members tonight: our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Timothy Harney; our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, Mr. Robert Haas; our Interim Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations, Mr. Luis Frontero; our Facilities Director, Mr. Brian Gortsfield; our District Legal Counsel, Mr. Edwin McCarthy; our District Clerk, Suzanne Bonetti; and our student rep will be here soon, Mr. Alexander Malenchos. We're working on that one. There are 2 opportunities for the community to participate during the Board of Ed meeting. The first is just before the board sees the agenda, and the second follows this disposition of all agenda items. As always, if you'd like to speak, we ask that you come to the podium. Please state your name from Bayport Blue Point. If you are not from the school, if you are not from the community, or you do not work for the school district, you must be voted in by a majority vote of the board. We ask that you keep those comments to approximately 3 minutes. And as always, our Board of Ed meetings are videotaped and posted thereafter to the board docs and on the website. And if you'd like to follow Dr. Harney on X, you can follow him at BBP Soup, or you can follow the school district at BBP Schools, Facebook at Bayport Blue Point School District, and Instagram at BBP School District. At this time, before we pass it over to Dr. Harney, we'll open it up to the community members, any new or old business. Not hearing any. Dr. Harney, how are you tonight, sir?
Very well, thank you, Mr. Miller. Just a couple updates. So today we have 2 presentations. Ms. Allen will be giving one to talk about the French experience that we've recently had, and then also Mr. Frontero will be giving a budget update. Just on a budget piece, just so that people are all on the same page. January 16th, the executive budget had come out, and we had reviewed this a little bit at the last meeting. If you recall that I had done part of a presentation along with Mr. Frontero, and we talked about the district had a reduction in foundation aid of 1.159 million roughly, which was about 10% of our foundation aid, which is a very big deal. Since that time, there have been a number of meetings. A number of us went to, even some of our board members and other personnel staff. We went to a legislative meeting on Saturday, where we had a number of our legislators there. There were a number of questions. They are continuously saying that they are hoping to bring back the foundation aid to at least to where it was. That is something that we probably will not know for a little bit. I had talked about the budget process last time, where I talked about you have the executive budget, which happens, as I mentioned, on January 16th when it was released. And then the next piece will be the one-house budget that will be proposed. That will probably be sometime in mid-March. That doesn't really necessarily change anything, but what it does give you an idea of where the Senate and Assembly is in terms of what they're proposing in terms of a budget, so that may give us a little bit more information as we're trying to create our budget. And then really the final piece is then there becomes a negotiation. And then from there, April 1st, we should be receiving the budget from our governor, but that is not always on time. Last year, I want to say it was May 10th. And if you're starting to think about dates in your head, we adopt a budget usually mid-April every year. So last year we had to adopt a budget without knowing everything. This year it's even a little bit more worrisome, only because if the budget comes in that late, we're kind of trying to plan almost 2 different budgets right now. So that's just kind of an update for everybody. So there's really no changes in the executive budget right now. So Mr. Frontero, myself, and many members of our team are really looking at this as if, okay, if we were going to be cut 1.159, what does that look like? So that is something that we will continuously watch. And if you have any questions during our presentation, we'll be more than try to help you or answer them and see if we can give some guidance on that. Yesterday, Mr. Haas, switching gears to UPK. This year we had a large number of people put in for UPK. We had 111 of our community you're following this year's our UPK has 72 students. Next year we were hoping to at least have 78, but it's something that I would like to revisit and talk about within the budget process about is there a way to take a look at some of the UPK? There's a lot of moving parts to it, so we'll talk about it a little bit during the budget cycle, but I'm hoping to come forward within the next, probably the first March meeting, to kind of talk about, after we take a look at staff, is there anything that we can do to maybe offer more opportunities for our community members. But again, some of that plays into some of the aid, so it's a little bit bigger than that, so that is something we are paying attention to. Just from tonight, you'll see on there is the calendar. Calendar is something every district tries to work on. There's different rules within the calendar, and what I mean by that is the state tells you every district has 180 days, but if you'll notice, if you follow all the different school districts, everyone has, so the minimum is 180 days that you need to meet, and then you need to meet our requirements. So every year you're trying to create a calendar, and it changes a little bit each year. Going forward for next year, we have a 183-day calendar, so that is something that we try to balance. We also try to work with Eastern Suffolk BOCES, since a number of our students go there. Theirs are a little bit different. I believe they are, I want to say, either 182 or 181 days, so everything's a little bit different. But going forward for next year, what we are proposing is a superintendent's conference day that Thursday before Labor Day, and then there'd be a superintendent's conference day the day after Labor Day, and then our students would be that Wednesday after Labor Day. And then the majority of September would be a regular school month. And then you have some of your normal days that you would have off are there. Then Thanksgiving is always going to be a half day on that Wednesday, and then you have Thursday, Friday. This year, the winter break looks like a lot of districts, especially in our area, are looking to do 2 weeks. We're looking to do the 2 weeks as well. Then you have the February break, and then you also have the spring break as well. And then the school year goes a little bit longer. It goes to actually June 27th, I want to say. That's not a big board thing. That is a state day. That's what they call rating day, so that's what we're supposed to go to. We also have, as you may be aware, is over the last couple of years, the government has added various holidays. Juneteenth is in the calendar, and you may have read that the government had added Lunar as well. So that is something next year, and we're also trying to recognize Eid as well, so that will be a superintendent's conference day in the spring, so that's something else we're trying to do as well. So that kind of sums up the calendar, so if anyone has any questions on that, I would take that as well. And that gets us 183 days. It also builds in 2 snow days, which we've consistently been trying to do, so that's something that we are looking to do. And it meets all of our hour requirements as well. Just a couple other things is this week, hopefully you bought your tickets. We have the show that's being put on at the high school, Cinderella. That's where Allie is probably right now. She's doing that. She's probably rehearsing. So that's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. With 2 shows on Saturday, and then tomorrow night I know they're doing a thing for the senior citizens within our community. So that is something that is happening. And then the last piece, you may have heard me talk for the last probably 2 years. We've been really trying to focus a lot on overall wellness and mental health as we're going forward. I'm happy to say that on Friday we're going to do a ribbon cutting for the Wellness Center of the high school, which there have been a lot of people involved in that, from local politicians to local benefactors to various businesses who have played a huge role in that. So we're going to do a red ribbon for that. And remember, that is going to be really an indoor-outdoor at one point. So the indoor part is finished, and then we're hoping the outdoor will be done next fall, so we're very excited about that. Also on Friday is, and recently selected Friday is PS I Love You Day, which we do honor within the school district here, so we thought that this would be a perfect day, so we're looking forward to that. And I think that is it. With that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Miller. Thank you, Dr. Harney. I just want to call up Madame Allen to present this. I don't really want to take much away from her presentation, but I do want to thank her. Whenever you have a program like this, it really does take that person to take charge of it and really run it for it to be successful for our students and for our community as a whole. And Ms. Allen has done that every year that we've had this program. It not only provides the students who are directly involved in hosting families and hosting students with them, but it provides our entire high school with an experience, having students from another country, other cultures come into our school district and experience it. So I really want to thank her for the tremendous, there's a lot of behind the scenes work up until the last minute, families backing out, having to get new families, partnering with other districts. So she really should be commended for all of her efforts with this to provide our students of Mayport Blue Point with this experience. So I'd like to call up Madame Allen to talk about the.
Thank you, Bobby. So this was the third year that we had students come over from a high school in Toulouse, France, in the south of France. It is a small Catholic high school that they came from, and they hosted our students twice there in 2017 and then in 2019. So I'm really excited that we've developed this partnership, and we've been approved to bring them back next year. So looking forward to this continuing. And after the presentation, I have Andrea Collins here, who ended up taking 2 of the boys and had them stay with her family during the experience. So she's going to come up and say a few words. But as Mr. Haas said, it is an amazing experience, not just for the students who host, but for the classes to see what it's like and get a chance to talk to students from another country. And I feel like it's a way for students to make connections and to realize that in other countries they have so many more similarities than differences, and that's what's really important to me and why I do this. The text comes from feedback from the students and families.
They were such polite boys, and my boys included them in everything. You see, like, they took my brothers to volleyball, like pasta night. They just, everybody in the school, like, just immersed them, and they really did speak so much English, like, and if they didn't, they tried so hard. They were just wonderful, wonderful boys. My boys are already, like, planning to go visit them in France, and I even communicated with the parents. They sent me a Christmas card, invited my boys to go, invite my whole family to visit them. It was really a wonderful experience. And I had no reason to be nervous, because they really were so good. It was fun. That's what I did.
Thank you so much for doing that. Appreciate it. Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Haas. At this time, we'll turn it over to Mr. Ontario for a short budget presentation.
Good evening and welcome to our budget workshop number 4. I'm so excited to have an audience. It's really great to see. And welcome. And as we go through this process, we can see how open and transparent we are in this district to explain everything about how we get to the 24-25 budget. Prior years, it was the same process and it works very well. There's no secrets. We're very proud of what we do in terms of funding our education in this community. And again, we don't keep any secrets out. So tonight, I'm just going to go over some of the function codes in the instructional area of the budget. I'm taking the board and anybody else who is listening to my presentation through all the functional areas of the budget. There are 4 of them. So tonight we're going to start with instruction and we'll finish at budget workshop number 5. We'll have completed all of them and covered everything, as a matter of fact. So here we go. That's our district goals, which are always part of every presentation. And here's the calendar. As you can see, it's ambitious, but important that we get through all of these, and we will. We'll get through 8 presentations, and then on May 7th will be the budget hearing, which is the one that's required by law. All these others that we're doing are basically our style of presenting the budget and developing the budget. So we're in February 6th, and on the 27th, we'll continue with all of the process. So back on January 23rd, when a lot of you were in the audience, you saw me present on the 1,000 series budget codes, which are all general support, the 5,000 series budget codes, which are transportation, and the 9,000 series budget codes, which are debt service and employee benefits. And it's important for at least for the school board and community to see this at least once during the process. This gives you a very idea what it's all about, what we're really spending our money on, and so forth. So this is a summary of the budget right now, divided into the various functional areas, the 4 that I mentioned. As you can see, the arrows show for general support, pupil transportation, and debt service that we've completed those, and we're starting on the 2000 series, which is instruction. Overall, this current proposed budget for 24-25 that you're seeing right now, it reflects a 3.57% budget-to-budget increase. As Dr. Carney alluded, we're reviewing that, but in light of where we might be headed in terms of state aid picture. And I'll talk a little bit about that towards the end of this. But that's essentially what, ultimately that number will change a little bit, but that's okay, it's all part of the process. Okay, so we're going to go to 2000 series budget codes, and they function from code 2010 to 2127. What's important to note about these function codes is that they are part of the uniform system of accounts. So every school district in the state works with these when they develop a budget. So for example, when you look at some of these budget codes, the first one you see at the top of this list, but the ones I'll cover, 2010 curriculum development and supervision. That 2010 function is used here in Bayport Blue Point. It's also done in Buffalo and throughout the state. It's the same function code for curriculum development and supervision everywhere throughout the state. And it helps the state collect and aggregate data about things, about operational things that school districts do. Well, that's why we have these function codes. So here I'm going to break down essentially the budget in these areas. And the format is the budget function, which is the number itself, the description of that budget function, the adopted budget for 22-23, the actual expenditures for 22-23 that were audited, the adopted budget for 23-24, the one we're living right now, the proposed budget for 24-25, and the dollar increase, percent change. And again, you're going to see these go up and down. There's a story behind every one of them. And then, of course, what's really important, I think, is the comments section. Because that gives you a real flavor for what this code is all about. What are we really funding here? You just, there's no secrets, again, about what we're actually doing with each of these sections of the budget. So, there you have it. In any event, so we start with 2010 curriculum development. And as you can see, this is Mr. Haas's office, as a matter of fact. He is 1.0 FTE person, and also we have clerical support in his office. And of course, he's involved with all curriculum planning and development, scheme and grade 6 ELA, math seminars, reading, academic research, etc., and field trips K through 7. Okay. And basically, all the numbers in this entire budget, when you add them up, you may see different percentages within the functions, but they all ultimately at the moment add up to a 3.57% budget increase. We have 2020 supervision regular instruction, and here we have basically each of the buildings, the 5 principals, APs are included here, and this is not instruction per se, but this is each of the general offices that they run is where we would fund the 2020 function code. It's not really necessarily up 100%. Basically, when the number that the individual that we moved in here for 24-25 was accounted for in the English department in 23-24, enough time to make that change, so it makes it look like it's going up quite high, but it's pretty standard. 27 is staff development. We are a teaching and learning organization, and so it should come as no surprise that we value our staff and work very hard to do staff development. Some of the direction of our superintendent and assistant superintendent to continue training and professional development for faculty and staff. It's in service, everything we do, basically. Essentially, we have one individual who's basically in charge of that, reports to Mr. Haas, who is basically handling that particular teacher in charge, if you will. Moving on, we have budget function 2109, which is universal pre-K. And you can see there that we currently have 3 FTE teachers, 3 FTE teacher assistants, and 3 FTE teacher aides. And also includes supplies and materials and all the things they need to for direct instruction, if you will. And in fact, all of these areas of the budget, pretty much when you see instruction going on, it includes not only the personnel involved with that, but materials, supplies, equipment, contractual services, travel, conference, whatever it happens to be that's pertinent to that particular area of the budget. It looks like it's up 22.75. Really what it is it took a while for us to figure out. Most of this is covered a good piece of this is covered in the federal fund. This is only the general fund support. But when we were getting it started, we budgeted higher and then back down some of the numbers until we finally got, I think, where we have the sweet spot in terms of it. So it's not that it's increasing that much, it's just being compared with a number that was lower because we were trying to get it right in terms of federal versus general fund support. It's not that it's going up 22.7, except when, again, when you look at the numbers, it's true, but there's a story behind it, as you can see. 2110 kindergarten, we're not defunding kindergarten, it's just the fact that we went from 7 sections, 8 sections to 7 sections. So we're actually down a section in the district, which is causing that decrease. 21-1, grades 1 through 3. Here, basically, again, salaries for teachers in grades 1 through 3. We have 22 teachers accounted for here. It includes all the funding for teacher supplies, materials, workbooks, supports direct instructional services, and basically the increase here is strictly just personnel costs. In 21-1-2, which is grades 4 to 5, again here we have 14 teachers in the 4 to 5 area in the district. Basically, you see a decrease significantly, and that is decreased because we have 2 retirements reflected, and they will currently be, according to this budget at this moment, replaced with 2 teachers at MA Step 1. So we're seeing the difference in the savings, if you will. 21-1-3, Arts and Education District-wide. We have salaries for our art teachers, we're starting it everywhere. We have set, and basically all the things that they need to run their programs included here. Basically, the increase is salary driven and may have some career increments in them as well. 21-1-4, computer assisted instruction. Here again, it's just a matter of the staffing that's currently assigned to this area because nothing really changed too much. We had a decrease of a TA, so we're actually down 1. So we have a 0.2 FTE teacher and 3 teaching assistants assigned to this area. We did have 4 in previous years. In English instruction, here you see basically teachers of English assigned to the middle school and the high school. There are 11 altogether. The decrease is because one of those positions is now in BP in the middle school, but that's what's created some of that decrease. It's actually within staff. And 21-1-6, English language learners. Here again, we have the teachers of English language learners assigned to the 4 schools. It's 4 FTE, and we did budget a little bit higher with the anticipation that we might have more students coming in who need these services. Again, a budget is never exactly a perfect science, but you try to address all the needs and try to anticipate them as well. 21-1-7, Health Education District-wide. Here again, we're not going to be not teaching health education. It's just that we have a decrease in retirement of 1 staff member. And that person currently, in this proposal, will be replaced by someone at MA Step 1. 21-1-8, Home and Careers Instruction. We have 1 teacher assigned, and pretty much that's the salary increase for next year, as well as, again, all the supplies, materials, and things that are needed to run that particular program. Technology, which is form 2119, which is technology formerly industrial arts instruction. Here we have 2 teachers at middle school and a 0.6 teacher at FT at the high school. And again, the increase is basically a salary. On 21-21, math instruction. Here again, we have salaries for our math teachers assigned to the junior middle school and high school. 13.2 FTE altogether. Includes funding for the textbooks, workshops, memberships, conferences, travel, all the things that they need to run, essentially that. And basically it's just the standard salary increases that are reflected there. And in 21-22, music instruction district-wide, here again, salaries for teachers of music assigned district-wide 11 altogether, and half-time clerical support to help run all the technical things that need to get done to run the department, so to speak. But it includes instruments and repairs and textbooks and workbooks and memberships and travel, piano tuning, all the things that you would expect that we would need in a music instruction program. The decrease is essentially because we have retirement in this area, and right now, again, we have an MA Step 1 salary replacement next year. 21-23, physical education district-wide. Here again includes funding for 12.8 FTE and the equipment and repairs and maintenance and all things that they need to do to run that program. 21-24, reading PSCN, we have 6.8 teachers, pretty much running at the elementary level. 3 are teaching science and education, teaching social studies, and teaching speech. And that is next chart. So 21-25 science instruction. Here you can see pretty much that we are funding at both the middle school and the high school 15 FTE teachers. Includes funding for textbooks and workshops. You're supposed to see a theme here: memberships, conference, travel, conference, supplies, materials. Basically, everything to support direct instruction. Okay. And again, the increase is pretty much just salary driven. In 21-26 social studies instruction, here again we have 11 FTE and all the things needed to run their departments in both the buildings. And the decrease here is that we have a retirement in this area, again, replaced by the NA one step next year. At 21-27 speech, here we have 8.8 FTE teachers included, includes funding for supplies, materials, and everything I basically mentioned, and the increase is basically related to salary adjustments. Now, last time, if you recall, the last meeting, Dr. Harney spoke about the executive budget. Includes 2 changes to the foundation formula. He mentioned it again tonight about what actually might be happening. And because of that, we are, again, while we're talking about at the moment a 3.57% budget-to-budget increase, it actually, we're working to change that in some particular way. And we're trying to guess what would be the best scenario. So we have we're developing a scenario in light of what we think might happen. Now this is our worst case. If you look at the chart, I think it's easier to see on your paper than even on the screen on here. The foundation aid number is decreasing by $1,159,000, which is part of the governor's illustrious proposal. And as you look at the rest of the categories called categorical aids, like transportation, BOCES, on-course aid, and lows, they're actually going up, $467,000. So the net hit to the district, if this worst case scenario would have happened, is we would have a reduction of about $691,000 in aid, which is significant and difficult and not fun. You can also see that there is pre-K aid, which is presented with an increase of about $91,000, but we can't use that to fund general fund support. That can only support pre-K outside of that area. Dr. Harney, did you have a question? Okay, sure. So this is right now, and whatever we happen to discuss in terms of where we're going to move forward this 3.57% budget increase, is going to be where we feel things might fall out in terms of a state aid package. This is a better case. This would be where our foundation aid is restored, as Dr. Harney mentioned. We'd like to see that happen, which means it didn't increase, but it also didn't decrease. So it's a zero increase, but it's the money that we need to run. And what we end up with is enjoying the fact that some of our categorical aids, which we have to spend the money to get the money, is going up by $467,000. So that's good. That would help us. And if that works out to be the case, then I'd say we're happy to take an additional increase, because most times it hasn't increased much over $100,000 to $200,000. This is the best case would be where we actually got a 3% increase, which is what was supposed to be happening with foundation aid. If it wasn't going to be decreased, or it was going to be held harmless and kept the same, sometimes they talk about giving us 3% increases. This would be the best of all possible worlds, because our foundation aid would be going up, plus we have the categorical aids going up. So that would be like a windfall that we haven't seen in a long time. Would it happen? Is it likely to happen? Probably not, but you never know what will happen until it's over, so to speak. So, but we're going to be working with these scenarios to figure out where we want to fall in terms of our proposed budget and how we're going to book our state aid, because it's a big piece of our revenue package. Your state budget process, as Dr. Harney explained, there's a lot of machinations going on in Albany during this time of the year, and committees and so forth. And from what you hear from our legislators that a lot of them do not support what the governor is trying to do with our school districts. So there'll be, by the time the dust settles, there should be, if nothing else, an improvement to what she's talking about at the moment. And again, so this is our current budget, and depending upon where we're heading, we are going to decide, what that new number might be. Again, it might not be 3.57%, but it still will preserve whatever number we come up with. It will preserve all of our programs, services, and things that we know and love about the district. We'll figure out a way to get it done. Obviously, whatever number we decide on the expense side that we're going to be doing, we have to come up with a revenue side. So we're going to have to make a decision about what our tax levy increase will be. We already know that our cap is 3.91 if we want to go to that cap. But more importantly, we also know how state aid is going to support the process, because it's our second largest piece of revenue in terms of balancing the budget. So that's where we're headed. We're going to try to reduce our transfer from reserves and so forth to try to keep and bolster them up. So that's all part of the plan, and more, of course, will be shared as we move forward in the process. We have 4 more presentations, so for sure by then we will know, and by April 16th, we'll have a budget that we can adopt and put to the voters. Okay, this is a transfer to capital project, as you recall, and included in the current drafted budget. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, we're going to just stop this here for a second, Mr. Frontero, just to kind of talk about it, because really that is the budget discussion for tonight. We're going to give also a recap of projects that were put in last year, and we just want to give an update to the board and to the public on where we are with them. But before we do that, I just want to talk a little bit about the budget, and then we'll move to this second part, if that's okay, Mr. Frontero.
Absolutely.
Just a couple of things. Mr. Frontero is reviewing staff. One of the things that you saw that he had put in there is we do have a number of retirements this year. We have not looked at in staff entirely. Right now, we're in the process of where your middle school and your high school are making their selections now for classes, which will play into some of this. The only thing that I could really tell you right now is what we're predicting as the number of sections at the elementary level, because those are the numbers that we are currently living with. So we have those. The only group I cannot tell you is kindergarten. We believe that we're going to predict it as if it was this year's group. That's how we're going to do that. So there's still a lot of uncertainties about the staff. So we are going to take a look at, since we do have retirements, are we going to replace all of those positions? Are we not going to? What it's going to look like? Obviously, when we had talked about this and we were looking at our staff and enrollment, that would be something that will be looked at. We will continue to look at. So probably we'll have hopefully a better idea of the entire staff, which makes up a good portion of any budget, probably March, and hopefully early March. So just that you're thinking about that. So that's kind of the staff piece. I just want to kind of put that as a disclaimer. The second piece I want to talk about here is pre-K. So one of the things that Mr. Frontero had said was he talked about pre-K aid, and he said that we could not access that, and that is 100% accurate in the sense that pre-K aid is really only allowable for pre-K. So we have, as I said, this year we had 78 students within the program, 60 here within Big War Blue Point, 60 over at Sylvan, and then 18 over at the YMCA. So that's our 78. So even though we were receiving more aid than that, there was no more space work, we didn't have classes, and the YMCA could not take any more. One of the things that, and now our interest, and as you heard me speak in the beginning of this, our interest has definitely gone up within our pre-K program, and that's a tribute to really everybody involved. That is something that they have built. It's 2 years old now, we're going into our 3rd year. This year we had 111 students, well, I should rephrase that. For 24-25, we have 111 students or parents who had put in for the lottery, which, as I said, Mr. Haas had done yesterday. So he had selected Actually, he had selected the 78 that we thought that we'd be able to manage, and then from there, there's a waiting list of 33 students. So one of the things I am going to propose is really to explore the idea of possibly seeing if we can, one, access more of the pre-K aid, which would off balance some of our costs, and take a look to see if we could have more students in the program. Just doing the simple math, even our pre-K aid looks like it's projected to go up this year to $580,600. If you do the simple math, that's 107 students that the aid would cover. So that would be something that we would see as that a possibility. Also take a look at what other costs would that bring, whether it's being done within the district or through the Y. So that is something that I would like to explore. And again, I would probably have more of that information for you kind of in that early March period, just so that as we're doing all staffing, that would be a big part of that. And then really the third piece I wanted to kind of bring up as I bring this to the board, and Lou has alluded to it, is we've had no idea what the state aid is going to be. I am somewhat optimistic that they will restore at least some of it, I would imagine, from what I'm hearing. But again, that is late in the game, and we have to plan a budget. Mr. Frontera talked about the tax levy right now, somewhere around a 3.9. I want us, as we're thinking about that, I want us to think about a couple of things as we're doing this. Again, we've been very prudent over the years. We have gone under our tax levy for the last 3 years now, which roughly comes to about us needing about $1 million out there, okay? In doing that, we never have really cut too much of our expenses. As a matter of fact, if you take a look at the programs and things that we've been able to do over the last couple of years, really to bring more to our school district by adding social workers, by expanding our number of students that can go to BOCES, by adding co-teaching K-12, well, we've been able to do a lot more, so we've taken some of that. But even if you review, and we talked about this, our audit from last year, we had spent 99.1% of our budget, which is, I'll be honest with you, somewhat unheard of. That's how tight we are looking at this. So as I was saying, as we're looking at our tax levy, I want us to think about that going forward. The reason I'm saying that is because during that is we have had some unanticipated costs happen to us in the previous years. As I said, we left about $1 million out there, still building programs, coming out of COVID, trying to offer our students a real nice experience. But also saying that is health benefits at that time, we had projected at 10%. Part of last year, they came in at almost 15%, 14.7, I think it was, something like that. We had to take out TANs every year, interest rates, so we had planned for roughly about $40,000. That was nowhere near close to what we expected to explode like it did. That was $400,000. So staying that over the last couple of years, we've also had to pull from our savings a little bit, close to about $1 million as well. So as we're thinking about the tax levy this year, I want us to, as we're trying to get direction on how we'd like to proceed, I want us to think about that, because also the other intangible right now is unsure of what's going to happen with foundation aid going in the future. What I mean by that is this current year, the governor is projecting that 1.159. It's roughly 10% of our foundation. Remember, there's only 2 pieces of revenue that we can count on as a district. One is foundation aid. There's no strings attached to it, which I explained last time. And then obviously money from our taxpayers. Those are the 2 pieces of revenue that the district will really receive. And then we get some miscellaneous things here and there. So that becomes a big part. Saying that, do I hope that the governor will reinstate a lot of the foundation aid? I absolutely do. But saying that is, I don't know what that means for the future as well. So what we've pulled from our savings a little bit over the last 2 years, we have an opportunity, taking a look at what we're doing, and I'll use the word being even more efficient, I guess, or really just taking a look at our programs and stuff, and we're not necessarily doing anything to hurt our students. Is there an opportunity here to try to build a little bit of our savings, and saying that, to replenish it, I should say, and then also not knowing where the governor is going to go in the future. Is this going to be a constant conversation every year about foundation aid? Or there's been a lot of talk about redoing the foundation formula. You've heard me talk about in the past. The foundation formula is based on data that's outdated, sorry about that. And the formula is based on early 2000 information. Now, as a district, there is no secret that our enrollment and many enrollments on Long Island, many districts have decreased. So what is that going to do with foundation aid? I don't know if they redo a formula. Also, I do know that, for example, it costs over the last 10 years about 33% more to educate a student. So those are things. So I don't know if that will play into it. I don't know if since our demographics have changed and our economic disadvantage numbers and special ed and those things cameras, do they play into it? There's so many unknowns that concerns me a little bit going forward as we're looking at, as we're setting and talking about our tax levy for this year. And probably if we would have asked me a month ago, the conversation would have been very different than it is right now, only because of things that we're hearing and some uncertainty that's out there. So really, I just wanted to kind of throw all that out. At some point, looking for some direction for us as we're going forward. As I said, so it's really taking a look at the tax levy. I really would like to take a look at pre-K, see if we can access some more of that pre-K funding, because that's the only thing it can be used for. Wouldn't cover everything, but I think we could do something that might be really nice for our community. And then really just taking a look at us overall. So with that, I'll open it up to questions to the board and then from the community, and then we'll go into this second part if that's okay.
Any questions from trustees? Mr. Johnson?
Just one question. So looking at the tax levy and state aid, that's really the two revenue sources that we can, the biggest ones that we rely on to operate the district. Now look at the breakdown, it's like 22 versus 78%. How are we looking against other districts in Long Island? How are we looking against other districts, say, in other regions like upstate New York, like the city? Is that a similar breakdown of state aid, foundation state aid versus tax levy money?
It's very well. It's very much regional and wealth driven to some extent, because there are some districts. One that I've actually worked in that was 37% of its revenue stream was from state aid. In some cases, 41%. And of course, every dollar you raise in state aid, you don't have to raise a tax levy. So those, but for us, we're considered a wealthy property and income wealth district. And so, the fact that we're getting what we're getting is, as long as we can count on it, and see it go up a little bit. But it's, it's much more. In other places that I've worked, it was just 6% of the revenue stream because of the high wealth. So it really just depends on the district itself.
If it's down a little bit, it's also like tax-based growth, right? That plays into it. And then the Commonwealth ratio, which for next year is predicted at the highest I've seen it in my 16 years here. It's predicted at like 1.2. Just talks about, again, from a community standpoint, it's not a bad thing, but from when it comes to doing a budget, that plays into it as well. We're typically, I'm going to say, for many years, we fluctuated between 0.95, 1.05, somewhere in there for the CWR. So that was, I thought, was a big jump that we had seen. And that's not anything we have to do with, that's given to us. So that was interesting too.
When you file your taxes and you put down your school district, they know what the incomes are, and they aggregate that for the entire district, and that's part of the data that they use to come up with the combined wealth ratio between property values, which real property Albany knows pretty much is a good idea of the values. Give or take the fact that they might be working 2 years back in terms of data, but that's why they can get out of our hands, particularly.
So I think it's important to really know that the less aid we get, the more tax we generate in order to keep up.
Absolutely.
And I was on the board that voted for those budgets that were under the cap, and I think that's great when we can come under the cap. But when we talk about $1 million upfront table. It's not just $1 million, it's $1 million of revenue every year that we're not getting.
It's out of the base.
That tax levy number. So we want to be prudent. We also want to think about how do we stop a compounding issue of less foundation aid, trying to keep the tax rate low for the community, but then without compromising programs. And I do want to say, it's not $600,000. It's not. That's an insane number. It's $1.1 million that we would be shorted. Those numbers that are under that foundation aid on that slide, those are all things that we as a board increased programs in BOCES, transportation, that we laid out the funding for, that the state has to reimburse us, whatever the formula is, 50%, 60%. So that increase in aid is because we grew programs, that we paid for it.
Correct.
It's not because offsetting, it's not extra money that we gave, it's stuff that we've invested our own money into the community to get some back.
So those you have to spend to get. Exactly.
We really need to put those numbers out there at 600,000. That's false. It's over $1 million that they're arguing us in the school district.
Any other trustee questions? I mean, I would just say, Dr. Harney, in my opinion, I think we should maximize the levy to the max. I think we should add all 33 students to pre-K, and I would ask the board and you to consider increasing the transfer cap. We would look into that.
It's definitely something that we can definitely take a look at all that. I will probably need the next month to try to get through all that. Probably aiming towards that March 12th meeting where we'll be able to give you really better idea of staffing, pre-K. Maybe by then the one house budget will come out just to get a look at what that. But my guess is and I could probably say this with some certainty, I would say probably the one house budget will come out with restoring foundation aid, probably with a minimum percentage as well as my guess. That does not mean that that's where it will be. That's my guess for the one house budget. So those are all things by that day we should at least have an idea about. But I think I think there are some of those things that we can definitely take a look. And in saying, well, I want us to start thinking about replenishing some of those reserves that we pulled from the last couple of years because of the uncertainty going forward. So I can definitely do it.
Any other trustee questions?
Just thinking, Dr. Harney, for folks who are here in the audience or who are watching at home and are hearing that these proposed cuts are being discussed right now in Albany, that superintendents are advocating. I know I'm an ISID member myself, and I'm ISID advocating to have that money restored. But for community members who may be feeling kind of helpless or seeing this happen, is there something that we can recommend that they can do if they want to take action on their own? Is there something that you would like, or that we as a board maybe can recommend that they reach out to, just to express their concern as community members about what could potentially be happening to our district?
Yeah, I would say really one of my next things I'm going to do is with the PTA Council is share some of this information because if you, and I don't mean like if you just look at the paper, it's kind of what Mr. Johnson was alluding to. You're gonna make this assumption that the district is only down, $569,000 or whatever. Really, there's more to that story. It's also trying to give people as much information as possible, right? So, like for example, one of the arguments that we've heard in the past was, all right, we reduced the foundation aid because of the change in enrollment. That's been an argument that we've heard from the governor's office, right? Remember, the other piece that really we didn't talk about tonight, it's not just about the enrollment, they changed the inflation factor, which is a real big deal. And that's a math thing that I won't go into. But basically, the math factor, the inflation factor they should have used was in the high 3s. Instead, they used the 2.4. And all they did was take the average of the last 10 years and threw out the highest and the lowest, which I guess they got that. But that is another piece that is played into, they use this formula. So that's why you'll even see some school districts, so some people can put things in perspective. There were 337 districts in New York State that did not get their foundation aid. That's about 50%, all right? On Long Island, it was 40 out of 65, all right? So that's more than 50%, totaling about $33 million in Suffolk County. And that's was about another 10 million. But the way they even played around with things, there were even some districts that were had low funding that were actually getting the foundation aid up because of those two factors, the moving of the state promise and the change in the inflation factor. So I want people to have that information. Obviously, we had put together as a group here is a message to the governors. We had done that because that is something that impacts our entire community. That's one of the things we always talk about. But I would like to share that information at the contagions when I get more of that information out. And this way, if people want to reach out to a local legislator, which I have done on a regular basis on my behalf, this way they have the information to do that. So there may be long-winded answers. There may be a time, yes, we should do letters or reaching out, but we need to have all the information provided.
Thank you.
Mr. Portsfield?
So what we wanted to do for this, just the second part, was real quick. Next year, you heard us talk about the transfer of capital. And what a transfer of capital does, it allows you to identify projects within the board that the community votes on and approves. And we had a list of projects that we said we couldn't do them all, but we wanted to focus on some, especially as we got some updated pricing. So what we had Mr. Portsfield to do is wanted to basically give everyone an update on that. Because some of it is out of his hand. Many of the projects we have to apply to the state for. That's the same thing that we ran into when we were doing the work on the wellness. The wait at the state before you can do anything is about 22 weeks thereabouts. So that's a big deal. So if you're thinking about that, that's half a year. And that's before you can almost do anything at all. So that is something. So we just wanted to give you an update. Projects that we're working on and really where they are. They haven't been forgotten about it. People are saying, well, why? How come I haven't seen this? There's more to the story. That's what's up. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Portsfield.
Thank you, Dr. Arnie. So we have the list of projects that were proposed back last May within the budget. We have district-wide concrete upgrades and replacement, district-wide fence upgrades and replacement, the Academy Street softball field improvements, the maintenance floor and transportation garage exterior siding replacement, district floor tile replacement, district-wide pipe and valve replacements, Blue Point Elementary School's galvanized pipe replacement, Academy Street Elementary with isolation valves and boiler drain pipe replacement, the high school waste line replacements, and then James Wilson Young Middle School girls locker room waste line replacement. So out of all those projects, that's probably $1 million of work. We have $500,000 to work with. So as we work with our architects, we came up with a list of projects and we prioritized them. The items that didn't make this list, it doesn't necessarily they're not going to get done. We can handle some of it internally with maintenance and within our operational budget. So the projects that didn't move forward were the concrete replacement at the Walker entrance at Academy Street Elementary School, improvements to the Academy Street softball field, the maintenance barn transportation garage, the exterior siding replacement, district-wide floor tile replacement, Blue Point Elementary, we're going to be able to do some of the galvanized pipe replacement in the bathrooms in the main part of the building. And then James Wilson Young Middle School girls locker room. It's about 70 feet of waste line we have to take up to repair. So I just want to go through the timeline. Back in May, the budget passed and we met with BBS to go over the potential projects. We were aware that it was a lot more than we had, so we had to prioritize. So through July, we met again, went over the projects and prioritized them. In August, we sent letters to SED. It's a letter of intent, which we have to get a project number for. And September and October, BBS worked on the plans for the projects and all the paperwork involved with it. In January, it was all wrapped up and submitted to the SED. And currently it's 22 weeks for architectural and engineering review. That means we're not going to get comments until that review is over. I don't anticipate really many comments on these projects. They're not very technical. So once those permits are in hand, then we could, whether we bid the projects or we could use requirement contracts, we'll get them underway. So as soon as we have those permits or inkling that we're going to have the permits, we can start proceeding, with our getting the bid ready to go out or getting proposals. So that's my update when it comes to the 23-24 capital projects. Questions?
Thank you so much. I just know we had some conversations last year about the softball field. I know you're saying the permits are waiting for them, but any chance this will be done before the softball season?
Unfortunately, no. We could do the work, but then we would lose the aid on it. That's a big portion. So I don't recommend it.
Any questions? Bruce?
Is we want to make sure everything stays so we can get as much aid as we can on the project. That's really
Any other questions from trustees?
all right, and then our next budget meeting is on February 27th. Just so you have it, Mr. Frontera will review the remaining of the 2000 series. And then hopefully then we'll give you a little bit more preview, but it's not really more towards that first March one. We're just going to hope we'll have more information for you. With that, basically it.
Any community members have any questions about the budget? Or
How you doing? My name is Sean Feenan, and I'm looking to see about transportation for the budget, possibly adding some buses for bringing students back from where it is they get brought to for some of their extracurricular activities. This is not a late bus. I've discussed this with some people, and they feel like I'm talking about a late bus, which this is not. For example, the golf team, the swim team, there's other teams that we don't have those facilities here on campus, so they get brought to another town, such as Sid. But then us, the parents, are responsible to go and pick them up while we're on our way home from work or working ourselves. So if the kids can get brought back to their hometown here at the school, where a lot of kids ride their bikes or walk to because it's a very small town, they're able to find transportation themselves, or we're able to get that much easier. So if that is a possibility, it would be much, much helpful.
So we've had the conversation, and I know you've reached out to Mr. Mullins as well, and we have talked about it as similar to a late bus. We have talked about that. We don't have any late buses within the district. So we were thinking about if we did that. We've had parents ask us to do the same exact thing from being able to be taken home from the school here. So we looked at it as that we'd have to look at it for everybody, if that was something that we were to do. But we did say bring it up during the budget time, and it's something that if the board would like us to take a look at, we can cost it out. But that's how we were looking at it, it really wasn't just, though they are off-site there, we do have kids here who we have been asked before about transportation as well.
I mean, is there any concerns with costing it out?
I think we'll sort of clarify, I think we're discussing bringing in kids and extra buses if need be. If we do have a program, then.
Okay, are we talking about swimming and golf?
If we have a program that's off-site, the school district would be, because we can't house our own program, would be responsible for bringing the students to that site and then back to the school, not so much back to their home. But it would only relate to those sports where it's off-site.
Correct.
So I guess that's kind of the risk of not being able to house our own program and being that money.
Anybody have any concerns with pricing it out?
And I'm not leaving it just to those two sports, those are just two that I know of. I'm not sure.
I think those may be the only two that I know of.
Bowling.
Is there bowling? They have a bowling team as
Bowling.
well, so.
Right, that's the, right, it would be those three. So there's I don't want you to tell me there's another one we're missing there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
There's one more thing which this might have been not have to do with budget, but it could. Maybe you should have brought up a new business. But streaming the meetings is great for the fact that people that can't make it here. I'm not sure if it costs anything to stream the meetings, but if it does, possibly we could look to see about like all the concerts that we have, the concerts for different family members that may not be able to make it there because they have to work at that time. I wasn't able to make it to this meeting in January because I was traveling home from Brooklyn at the time. I was able to listen to it, which was great, while I was driving. Now, if people can stream some of the concerts and such that we have within the community, that'd be a great option. And then also, like the Cinderella play right now that's going on, possibly filming that. Now, not streaming it because selling tickets helps contribute to the funding of the program. But if you could film it, which I remember is what they did when I was in school, and then they would sell, you know, the video that they had. Now it would be DVD or digital copy, whatever it is. That helps fund the program as well and provides memories for the parents as well as students to look back on later on.
So a couple of things with that is, I know when we were streaming during the time of COVID, we did stream a lot of things there. It is an additional cost to the district, so that would have to be something we looked at. And then you wouldn't just be able to pick and choose. Like we wouldn't be able to say, okay, we're going to do a concert, because then we'd have parents who ask us about sporting events as well. So we'd have to take a look at the whole thing if we were taking a look at anything. But there would be an additional cost right now. So that's one. And then the second piece, I believe with the musical, I believe there's rights that we can't do things like, right? Am I correct in saying that? We have to buy the rights.
The musical is filmed and just exactly what you're saying. The musical is filmed and we've installed as a fundraiser.
Okay.
Great.
There you go.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
So I got you 1 out of 2.
Thank you so much. Any other committee members with questions about the budget? Moving on to the consent agenda. Are there any items the board would like to remove from the consent agenda and place on the regular agenda? Not hearing any, can I have a motion to approve consent agenda items F, G, H, I, J, K, and L?
So moved.
Ms. Conley, second.
Second.
Ms. Pigataro, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Can I have a motion to approve the following inspector of elections for the library?
So moved.
Ms. Conley, second. Ms. Saron, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Can I have a motion to review the second reading of 6650, the claims auditor, 6660, independent external audits, 6670, petty cash accounts, and 6680, internal audit functions?
So moved.
Ms. Conley, second. Mr. Johnson, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Open up to community members for any new business. Open up to the trustees for any new business. Ms. Conley?
Just one final plug for Cinderella. Senior citizens come out tomorrow at 5:30 to the high school auditorium. And then there are performances Thursday, Friday, Saturday night at 7 and Saturday at 3. Thanks.
Any other trustee new business? Get a motion to adjourn. Mr. Krug, second by Ms. Pigataro. All in favor? Have a great night, guys. Thank you so much.